All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. We have some lovely leaders of the Women in Lutherie group, and then also we're going to hear more about their fellowship program today. If each of you don't mind introducing yourself and maybe sharing a little bit about yourself, that'd be great.
I'm Jennifer Creddick. I live in Minneapolis. I'm a violin maker and a shop owner. Yes, that's what I'm up to these days.
And the co-founder of Women in Lutherie.
Yes.
Just insert that there.
Oh yeah, big detail there. Detail. Paris, would you like to go next?
Hi, so I'm Paris Andrew, PA Lutherie, and I'm a violin maker in Florence, Italy, though originally from Britain. I've been in Italy about 4 years, and I'm looking after Instagram and some communications work for Women in Lutherie.
And I'm Jimin. My name is Jimin Kim. I'm a violin restorer in New York City, and a business owner. I have my own business. This place is going to be soon to be demolished, and hopefully rebirth as my new workshop space that hopefully will be able to create more women-centered, community-centered violin shop. And I started Women in Lutherie with Jennifer.
Amazing. And yes, I think most creative people though can see your space and see potential and not just a wall that's about to get taken out. So yes, well, thank you all so much for joining us. So it sounds like Jennifer and Jimin, you've started this group together. How did you meet? How did you get this idea? Please tell me more.
Well, we were introduced to each other by a mutual friend, Julian Cosman Cook. We were starting to put ourselves out there as being interested in and really getting some traction for a group of women to meet regularly, to have a space especially for us. And since Julian knew both of us, he put us together, and we met for the first time. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it was only like 8 months ago.
Wait, 8 months? I thought that was 6 months.
6 months?
Holy shit.
I mean,
oh shit, sorry.
I think it was 6 months ago, February of this year. And we spoke over Zoom, a Zoom chat for
hours and hours. It was great.
Yeah. And then, so I had gotten the Zoom meetings going for the Lady Luthiers that I knew, and it was meeting through my work on the board of directors for the Violin Society of America. And then after our conversation, Jimin had a couple of private Facebook groups going for people of color, and
we had the queer luthiers,
yes,
and the luthiers of color groups that I'm involved in.
And so then we just said you could probably start another Facebook group
for women.
Yeah. And we got that going, and then we met Paris. And her freaking amazing Instagram account.
By the time I jumped on board, I mean, what was started by Jennifer and Jimin had already snowballed into quite a tight-knit community of quite a lot of luthiers. So they were using the Facebook page as like a hub, which was like a place for sharing information and communicating, and then the weekly Zoom meetings that I started attending, and it was just so wonderful. So I thought I can do another Instagram page, to really just highlight how many incredible women were turning up to this meeting every week. I mean, so many different Lucias, you know, identifying as women around the world who are doing such incredible, diverse work. It's amazing to see such a community hub together.
Absolutely. And I mean, it makes me want to become a luthier because you're all so cool. Like each of your accounts, you know, when you shared, you know, different pictures and there's like, you know, 10 or 15, you know, women tag in there, I go through and look at them all. I'm like, every single one of these makers is a badass. And not only that, you know, takes great pictures or, you know, or just doing really neat different things. So you can tell the group is very engaged and very vivacious and very diverse and exciting. I mean, to feel this like, you know, level of like a buzz about something I'm not even involved in such a short amount of time is really remarkable. You know, and what you're doing for others. And I don't want to jump too far ahead into the fellowship, but the numbers and the amount of people that you're able to get engaged is really amazing as well. So it sounds like, you know, it started kind of out how Women of Woodworking did. It was like, all right, what's another Instagram page or Facebook group? But it's actually the members that make it so wonderful and, you know, generate this momentum
absolutely.
And energy. So what has that been like? Has there been anything that's like surprised you about this? Obviously, besides how freaking cool it is.
I think we were all surprised. Now, you know, in hindsight, we're like, of course, but we were really surprised by the sheer number of women who are at the bench in Lutherie. And you know, when I started the group, I had really wanted to name it in a way that isn't specifically makers or luthiers. I wanted it to be anybody who is women and women identifying on the bench, working manual labor in the field of Lutherie. And when people started coming in, we were thinking like, oh, like, of course, like we all know each other already. There's like maybe 40 of us, 50 of us. And then it's just started growing exponentially. And we have, I think at this point, have 400 members in the Facebook group. And it's still every day, it's still growing. There's still, you know, several people joining every day. So it's the number of the people that I think in a way, like I also discounted our own selves, like, oh, it's just going to be a few of us. But no, we're out there. There's a lot of women out there.
I think the same. I mean, I thought I knew all the other women luthiers in Italy, and then suddenly there were all these people. It's just like, oh my goodness, we're so nearby. I didn't know you were here. So it has been really, really exciting. And also just to see how many younger women are entering the schools and are currently in training, I think is just such a joy to see just how many women are entering the industry as well as the professionals. That's been really nice surprise.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing that's really lovely to see about organizations and groups that kind of form like this is, like you said, the newcomers, the young people that will see this group and say, oh, there is a place for me here. Like, it's not totally out of the box for me to want to become a violin maker. I think that's a hurdle that's not unique to just women in the craft, but I think our hurdle is a little bit taller than probably for our male counterparts. Entry and accessibility, you know, to pursue that passion, especially here, you know, in America, is very capitalist. Is it going to pay the bills? Is it going to do this? Do you have a degree? And the example and the representation that you're providing people, you know, you never know how just this little bit of exposure to your Facebook group and your amazing community could make someone, you know, it could be the gateway to them falling in love with the craft themselves and it continuing to grow. And that's just really beautiful. And that's something that I try not to take for granted, and obviously, you don't as well, because you mentioned, the response as the most surprising thing, but that's something I wish people on the outside would understand as well, like why this work is so important. It's not just posting on social media. It's not just hanging out and gossiping and sharing memes, although I love that. This is real work, and this is real connection as well. Paris, you mentioned about the number of women Luthiers in Italy. Yes, I was blown away by that as well. I was like, wow, to be the size that it is. I mean, there are dozens that I've just seen in my very limited perspective. So it's global. That's the other thing. And it's really neat to see these little pockets of underrepresented voices in craft and woodworking find each other and make their own space. That's another thing that I think we've gotten really good at, is instead of trying to continue to work with systems that already exist, is to make our own thing that works best for us. So why do you think this group and the engagement has been so important to each of you personally as makers?
I just want to jump in real quick first. I think because I don't consider myself a maker. And I think that's a really, really key word that's been coming up in the recent years, of a lot of people getting into more, manual labor, craft, the craft work and artisan type of work. And it's often used interchangeably with like maker, you create something. But I'm not a violin maker. I'm a restorer, and I fix things. And that's something that within our industry of Lutherie, not just in the violin world, but also in the general instrument making, I said that again, and not instrument making, but instrument field in general. There is a hierarchy and a class that exists between people who are makers and people who are just repair technicians. And that's something that I really work hard to acknowledge and change the class system that's already existing. And I think that's one of the things that I found really interesting is there are a lot of women that are working at the bench in a lot of rental shops all over the world that aren't makers, that they only do repair stuff, only work on rental instruments, what the industry considers like low end and not so not as significant. So I think it's really acknowledging and being able to talk about all these hierarchy issues, classicism, different ways that elitism, different ways that people and especially women are marginalized at the bench, I think is important. I totally lost track of what your question was.
Well, you still answered it. The question was, why do you think that why do you think this group is so important to you personally? And I said, as makers. And so, yeah. But you answered that, and you taught me a lot, and that's something that people on the outside don't know about, that hierarchy. Just educating other people, that's huge. So sorry, please continue.
Yeah, I would say so, like personally, so to answer your question, personally, for me as an equity worker, I have 9 years of experience in equity work in different sectors, and I got into this in my own industry because this is my career. It has been for 15 years, and now I'm just getting into it. Because I realized, wow, there is a lot of inequity that is not being addressed within the community. So that's, for me personally, that means a lot as an equity worker.
No, for me, I think it was a case of stumbling across the announcement for the actual first Zoom meet and turning up. And I think just having that connection to a group of women in my own field, but women who are so different from such different countries, from different walks of life, different levels. For me, it was such a joy to sort of have that group in a place that also a safe space, a space that we can talk about issues we have dealt with, issues that we are currently dealing with, having that sense of solidarity, the kind of stuff I was going through as a young woman entering my career, you know, that you just think, oh, you know, push through it, get on with it, it's normal, you know. Sort of like hearing the stories from other women. I mean, it was that feeling of like, okay, yeah, no, this is an issue that needs addressing. But also just being able to talk about our work and share information, and sharing information without that aspect of gatekeeping, that like, oh, you should know this by now sort of thing. Because we do get a lot of sort of master make bullshitting. So there's a sense of just actually being able to talk freely about work and ideas, and something that we're all so passionate about. I mean, Lutherie is one of these things that takes over your life a little bit. You know, it's something we're all so passionate about, and forging friendships, because I've personally made some really, really strong friendships with women I've met through the group who have become real friends in the real world as well, which is for me been the most important thing for sure.
Yes, Lutherie has taken over my life and my home. I started my career in violin making school, and then got married, and my husband had a violin shop. So we just ran the violin shop together, and it fell to me to be the front of the house, because of my smile.
You do have excellent.
I was going to say, you have a lovely smile.
Well, for better or for worse. You know, and I learned, I enjoyed working in the business. And when things changed the last couple of years with the pandemic and such, I decided I wanted to get back to violin making, give it another shot. I had only made a few instruments since leaving school. So it was really important for me to have support, because I was not feeling so secure, because it had been so long since I'd worked at the bench. And so it was great to be able to ask dumb questions, you know, and feel okay with that and feel safe. So definitely it feels like a safe space. And so that was really important to me.
Wonderful. That's something I think a lot of people in the Women of Woodworking group, and then also I personally have experienced, is, like you said, just a space to be able to offer up information, or, hey, I'm having this issue, and you know, we may not as a collective have a solution to that yet, but it makes you feel less alone. And it to me, it makes me feel like, okay, like real energy is being put towards this problem simply by acknowledging it, but then also, you know, putting effort into that as well. We can't even make progress if we're not comfortable enough to bring sometimes hard topics or uncomfortable things to the table.
Well, it is difficult for women, especially because we are pulled many different ways from men. I mean, we've got a lot on our plates, and it's just the fact. And pretty much, and so we get more understanding when we're together.
Absolutely. Oh no, please go ahead, Jimin.
I was just going to add totally. I think the space that we started on Facebook, it's a private group, so it's a secret group, if you will, where it's meant to be as a confidential area, a space where, safer space where people can come and share what is bothering them, what is troubling them, something that's happening today that is just irritating, and being able to just come in. There's a lot of vent posts that people do. So it's like just venting, blah, 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 blah. This is what happened today. And then just like tons of people chiming and like, oh my gosh, me too. Oh my gosh, it happened to me the other day. And all these people, instead of, because there's, as women in the industry, there's that, that bind of like the double bind, if you will, of like, if you are, being real about all your life's, problems in public space, then you're seen as not professional. And the other side is, of course, if we don't, so I say those things, we're seen as stone cold bitch. And, and so I think the space really, and I'm so appreciative of the community members that are really there for each other, and women supporting women, and, just being real, like, this is what happened. I think one thing that what Jennifer said reminded me was that one of the members said that they were having a professional photo taken of her in the workshop, and her kid was clamoring to her legs and crying, and she was just like trying really hard to keep a professional face, like just like crop this, and she talked about that almost like a duplicity of like herself trying to keep everything together up here, but then there's the chaos of life and all the family stuff that she has to take care of outside of that, professional boundaries. So and a lot of women, I think, especially with family stuff, really just related to all of that.
And the group is working. I mean, I feel so much more empowered to run my business now. And I feel like, you guys have my back and you're there when I need you, and to bounce questions off, technical questions or personal questions. I really hope that we're going to change the world. I really think we can.
I think we are.
The empowerment really is a real thing. It's a real word that
empowering women and girls at the bench worldwide.
Yes,
that's our mission statement.
It works. It does.
I love that.
And that, I think, leads really well, G-Min, into the fellowship, which take it away, because you did that.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Well, y'all did that. I think that's why it's important that we're all here to talk about it, because I really started out as like, I want to kind of give the baton to Paris, actually, to talk about how it got started, because it really was Paris and her conversation with a lot of people, especially on the Instagram sphere, where I'm very new to. I'm a lot older than I look, and I'm very new to Instagram, and that's where a lot of younger folks tend to hang out, I think. And a lot of people who aren't who are more active on Instagram sphere reached out to Paris and talked to her. I think Paris is a really amazing mentor. And she told me, sorry, I'll let you tell the story. Then go.
No, I mean, as part of your journey becoming a luthier, I mean, usually after leaving school or your apprenticeship, you want to be getting work experience. You need to be watching other luthiers work, trying to get as much experience as possible, especially if you've never had experience working in a shop before, co-working with other people, getting used to the rhythm of other people's working environment. So, and just learning about the industry a little bit in general. How does it work? What are the unspoken rules, prices, international markets, everything. And a younger woman who is currently studying in England reached out, and she very bravely sent me emails saying, I would like to come to Italy and come to your workshop and do work experience. And I said, absolutely. I would be a joy to have you here for a couple of weeks this summer. And I think we were talking to Jimin about it, and Jimin saw the opportunity. And I think when we were chatting about it, so many other people thought, well, I would love to offer that as well in my shop, or I would love to do that kind of thing. And from there was so much interest that Jimin took the interest and the information, and we started to try and make something more official, to make this an official setup. So every fellow has a mentor, they can have work experience and actually make something real out of this, a real fellowship, rather than like a casual movement of people going to do experience. And most importantly, a work experience environment where they are going to genuinely be supported and looked after, which is so important, because again, there's a lot of younger women going into work experience environments which are maybe not such pleasant experiences. So that's really something that we wanted to put the effort in to make this something really valuable.
Yeah, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of things that need to change in our industry for sure, especially with a lot of apprenticeship trades sort of tradition, where it always was the master and the apprentice, and apprentice just, it's like working slave wages, do whatever the master tells you to do. It's very, very patriarchal and patrilineal, and women in the field generally tend to have not so great experience, because then you kind of throw in the different age thing, where usually the master is usually an old white guy. Let's not sugarcoat it. And then the person who's coming in as an apprentice is usually a young woman. And there's a lot of gender things that are at play there. I'm not going to name all of it, but you can kind of guess. So I think in terms of more accessibility, more access points for women, especially younger women, who are interested in, in trying this or interested in their career in the field. I think it's important that we create the platforms where they can reach out to other women who have been here and who have walked that, that road. I think that another thing to mention is that I think younger generations have grown up with such a ideal world view. I think like there's a lot of, because like in the last 20 years or so have been just we've been inundated with the idea of like women's empowerment. We're equals, we can do anything you want, you're a girl, you can do anything you want. And I think they grow up with this idea that they can do anything they want, and then they choose like, oh, I'm gonna do some kind of I want to make a guitar or make a violin or do something at the bench, and they come into the real world, if you will, that is full of so much sexism, so much hierarchism, all these race issues, like it's like all the people at the top are all the old white men, and there is, I think, a sense of shock. I think like, oh, is this what like it means to be in this field? I guess I better assimilate. And I think it makes it really like ripe, like the situations gets really ripe for a lot of really bad exploitations and harassments and just downright abuse. I think it's that's why like I think it's important that we create more of this platform where
I was honestly surprised by it all, because I do live in a bubble of my own self-employment, and knowing what it's like out in bigger shops, and I had my eyes opened to what happens. The other great thing about the fellowship is the structure of it. It's not, again, it's like not just a little chit chat group. like it's not just the coffee klatch that the Lady Luthiers were started out being. You know, it's there's a real purpose, and you know, we really try to create change through the program.
A lot of confidence building and professional development is what we're trying to really instill into the whole program, and mentorship, of course, like a lot of one-on-one mentorship, as well as team building, confidence building together, professional development. I think the confidence is a really big thing for women in the male-dominated industries. And when I say professional development, I don't just mean like you know, the career and people only who work full time, because we do have community members who may not be full time, or maybe this is their hobby, or maybe they used to work full time, but they're doing different things. Like, I think we're just trying to create more of diversity in how working at the bench, being a woman in this field, looks like.
Absolutely. And I was blown away whenever I first learned about the fellowship program. I thought, wow, that is remarkable, how much work, like commitment, on so many different people, you know, from so many different women from around the world. And I think will be a great model for what other organizations that want to do similar kinds of work within their own groups to look at and to look up
Thank
to.
You.
You know.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind.
And I really mean it. From, you know, before we got on, Paris asked me when I started Women of Woodworking, and it was back in 2015. And it just started as a series on my blog. And I spent a lot of time engaging the community, but not really sure where it was going, what it was doing. So to see a group of international women come together and make something like this, I mean, this is not a small program. You have dozens of mentors and fellows involved in this. I actually just interviewed Amanda before she went to Italy, the day before. So she was really excited about that. And so it's just really incredible. So should definitely feel proud of the work that you've already done. And holy cow, look at what you've done in 8 months. I mean, I'm a little frightened at what maybe, 8 years could look like for y'all, in a good way. So more about this fellowship though. You're right. So many women in woodworking in general come in and are, looking for mentors. That typical apprentice master dynamic is something that it still exists. It's not as prevalent, I'm sure, as it used to be. But it's the issues that we face as women trying to gain entry into woodworking kind of in general. It does seem to transcend these smaller pockets of communities like carving and turning. And these are universal experiences. What I think should just be more reaffirming to us that this is a real problem. We are really experiencing this. We are not alone. And that there are people out there that do just in general want to make this a better and more supportive environment for others. So the fellowship program, you're partnered with, how does it work? You're partnered with a mentor. How long are you partnered with them? How do you partner folks together?
This is something I sort of put together as we went, as I developed this program. I knew that I wanted it to be definitely a specific mentorship, like a one-on-one thing, because I saw how Paris was doing it with some other younger women that she talked with, and also I could see Jennifer was already doing it with other people. I was already doing it. I think it just by the virtue of like us being the organizers, we are more visible, so people reach out to us individually, and we have these private conversations where we are sort of kind of mentoring and helping them out on one-on-one basis. And I really wanted to put a name to it and structure to it and acknowledge where it's not just the three of us. There were so many women that were on the group who are more established, have been in the industry longer. They were so supportive and giving, and just really with open hearts, like, what do you guys need? Oh, you have the question, like, this is what I did, da 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 da, do you need help? Or it was just so, I could see it happening, and I really wanted to give it a name and acknowledge the community members that are doing this, because it's so important that I think people get recognized for supporting other people. So I knew that I wanted that, but then I also was a little bit slightly reticent about having the very specific master in the apprenticeship thing, which is very hierarchical traditionally. So I thought, like, what if we had like created this? One of the participants said, like, Jimin, you're creating this like web of people. so I wanted to put 2 extra support mentors to each fellows. So we have 11 fellows and 11 mentors. So it is supposed to be one-on-one, personal experience, but all of them are also assigned additional 2 people that are basically just supposed to be kind of like collaborating.
Available.
Yeah. So this year was definitely a beta test. We're still tweaking it. Like, we're getting feedbacks from the people who participated this year and trying to figure out how do we want to steer this and make it better, more accessible, more equitable in the future. We definitely want to grow that. And the way that I wanted to make it more equitable was to have more than just one direct mentor, so that it can be more of a chat. So actually that conversation eventually grew into another thing that Jennifer and I wanted to launch this winter, is a peer mentoring program. So that one would be very specifically among people who are peers, who want to share things and learn from each other. So that would definitely be more of the group thing, like a separate groups thing. But with the fellowship, I found that it was a little bit like it made it a little bit too complex, I think. So we're trying to tweak it and see, like, do we just want one extra support mentor? Or do we want to just like do away with it at all and just everyone can just check in together? Like we're trying to figure it out. But initially the support mentors idea, initially I really liked the way that it created collaboration between the mentors. So that mentors got to talk to each other and get to know each other while they were discussing, how can we help this fellow that we are supposed to be mentoring, so that it's more an equitable discussion about what the best way to move forward for that person, rather than like, this is how I do it and this is the way it is and you better do it that way, which is very traditional.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned mentors connecting with other mentors. That is great. You do need support and checking in with other folks and making sure that you're doing, the best you can by your mentee. And also it's a lot of pressure to be a sole mentor. So I can see the benefit from having, multiple, and also for, the mentee, the fellow, to have, like you said, more than just one opinion or way of doing things, another person to, bounce ideas off of, or, just share experiences with.
Access to people. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think there's an opportunity for the mentors also to acknowledge that they have something to offer. A lot of the mentors actually were like, oh, me? And so it gives the mentors an opportunity to say, oh, yeah, I do. I can help somebody. I've got something that is useful.
I gotta say, it was really hard to get the mentors to sign on. I had so many people asking to become the fellow and to be matched. But it was so hard to get people to sign up to be the mentors, because again, in the general, this industry, women are just constantly being told that they're not good enough. So almost everyone was like, oh, I don't know how to mentor people. I don't know how to teach people. Oh, I don't know if I'm good enough. Sometimes it was like fighting tooth and nail, like, please just be there, please. Like, you just existing is so much mentorship. And it is.
Yeah.
That's a big hurdle, and that's wonderful to hear, and very interesting that, again, like, as women, we're taught to, not take up space or not to view ourselves in a certain way. So it's not surprising that more felt themselves in the position of being a fellow rather than a mentor. But I can relate too. I mean, my first class at the Charleston Woodworking School, Sam was like, hey, can you come teach marketing? I'm like, oh, no, like, you want me to do that? And I was so nervous. And and the first class, I was like, okay, yeah, I love this. I can do this. I see now. But sometimes it takes that one person on the outside, like you said, being like, just show up, and knowing that person believes in you is enough to make you come and show up. And, beautiful things can happen from there. That's really wonderful.
Yeah, I saw also from mentors realizing how big of an impact, a positive impact they can have for other people that are, younger or, have less experience in the field. They, actually seeing it through the program, I think they were really surprised, like, oh, I guess I am good enough. Like, I think it was also a very empowering experience for a lot of them.
Absolutely. Well, how can people get involved with Women in Lutherie? And then I would assume the fellowship program, taking fellows on a rolling basis or kind of once a year. How can people get involved?
Yes, we want to be able to offer it every summer. We are just wrapping up this pilot program in September. So by the time this interview comes out, probably we'll be wrapping it up. And then we will have some sort of presentation on how it went at the upcoming Women in Lutherie conference at the end of October, so that we can show the world, like, this is what we tried to do and this is how it happened, and what we want to do moving forward. So we'll be able to show that at the conference, October 29th through 31st.
And Paris is the Women in Lutherie Instagram account is probably the best way to keep up with what's going on, because Paris is on it. She is.
Any big announcements will be made there. It's also a great place for anyone who's not currently in the private Facebook group. They're always welcome to send a message via the Instagram account, and I can give you all the information you need to become part of the community and just generally answer a few questions if anyone has them.
Yay. That's wonderful. So the conference, I'm assuming you can also sign up for the conference through Instagram as well.
We have not quite gotten to that part of planning yet. We're making it up as we go. But it will be.
Stay tuned.
I can tell you that it will be. We just formed the planning committee, and we're getting on it. I can tell you that it will be entirely on Zoom. So 3 days of Zoom presentations, panel discussions, Q&A sessions, and it will all be on Zoom. And we're working very hard to keep the cost really, really down. So it will be accessible to everyone, and any members of the public can just come check it out.
That's amazing. Yeah, by the time this comes out, I'm sure you will have more information that I'll be able to share in the article or description. So, well, ladies, thank you all so very much. I've learned so much. This was just also a very inspiring conversation, to meet you all and to hear more about how you got involved in such a remarkable program. I can't believe it's been 8 months. Like that's amazing. So
7 months, I think.
round down.
Yeah. But it's been so exciting meeting you. I've been just like, I think Jennifer told me about Women of Woodworking. She was like, hey, have you checked this out? And we're like, wow, what is this? This is amazing. And it's amazing that I'm so honored to be invited to talk with you. And it's been great.
It's been great. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you all. And like I said, we'll have some links and things like that in the description, but make sure you follow Women in Lutherie on Instagram. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.